Yeah, so what am I going to do?
I don't know. We're live in 15 seconds, so I guess we'll figure it out. Share it or speak to it. Or,
Well, I don't want to share it because all my speaking notes are there.
yeah.
I guess I won't share
Okay. Okay. Welcome to Could This Be Grace? My name is Alan Friesen. I'm here with Dr. Dianne McConnell. We are broadcasting to you from 15 seconds, so I guess we'll figure it out. Sorry. Share it or speak to it. Hang on 1 second, Dianne.
Well, I don't want to share it because all my speaking.
Oh my goodness. All right. Sister Google is not helping us today, but that's okay. We're going to get through it. Okay, let us stop this from doing that. Okay, good. All right. Again, sorry for the little interruption there. We had a little challenge, but we're back. So we started last week, and now we're going to continue on with this series of Could This Be Grace? The author of the book, Could This Be Grace, is Dr. Dianne McConnell. She's with us today. She's had...
I guess I won't share it.
Oh, gosh darn it. Hang on a second. Come on, Google. Okay. All right, I think we're good now. There's a guy keep talking in the background. I don't know what's with him. Anyways, we had a little technical difficulty, but we're back. And by the way, this show, Dianne, I don't know if you know this. This show is critically acclaimed. I've had huge positive feedback from Corolla. Corolla loves this show. So good news. We got an audience of one who really enjoys the message you're sharing. So for those who didn't see part one, it was basically just an introduction of Dianne and the path and the story and the journey she's been on. She's had experiences that no parent should ever have to experience, in that she's had to bury 2 of her babies. So that's something no parent ever wants. And throughout this experience, where it could be, destroy some people, it could destroy marriages, it could, change in a negative way the rest of her life, Dianne has found a way that this healing process, this journey, is grace. And she explains that to us. So Dianne, let's hear. Tell us.
Hi, Alan.
Hi there.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be back. Last week was lots and lots of fun. So I'm excited to be back joining you. And it's always a great time when we're together. And last week, and you gave a little bit of a brief introduction, but last week I did spend the time really setting the context and talking about I introduced my family, and I kind of gave a chronology of the experiences that we had, which would equal adverse situation. Lots of trauma, lots of unexpected kinds of situations. And I thought tonight I'd just kind of really quickly review that for the benefit of any of the viewers that weren't here last week. It might be a little bit helpful. So the beginning would be an introduction of our family. And sadly, my slideshow's not working so that you could see pictures of my family. But we have a daughter, a beautiful little daughter. She's the eldest, and 2 boys, Eric, the oldest boy, and Ben, our youngest boy. And there's about 4 years age span between the 3 of them. My husband, Roy, we've been married for almost 40 years now. We met in Spruce Grove. We were both teaching for the same school division. When we had our children and they were small, we were pretty active in the community. We did lots of outdoor pursuits and activities. And at the time our eldest son was born, we were in the process of applying for a D&D exchange. We wanted to experience teaching in Germany. And then things started to really change for us because our eldest boy ran into some challenges with retinal disease. And so we canceled our trip to Germany. and started to visit hospitals and get connected to specialists. And our youngest was born, and about the same time, in terms of chronology, things started to go south for him. And that was the experience that we had with our boys over the course of their lifetime. A number of different anomalies surfaced. So both of them started out with eye problems, and then Eric really had trouble with a hip, a necrotic hip. So he had a number of surgeries there, and finally a hip replacement. Ben had some blood problems. He had seizures. They had calcifications on the brain. They had some esophageal bleeds. They had high ammonia. And so I think a little bit of that information kind of creates the understanding of, we were back and forth to hospitals quite a bit with one, the other, or both at the same time, and lots of interaction with lots and lots of specialists.
Hundreds of medical appointments. You said, I think 30 just to Boston, to the eye specialty place in Boston alone, right? 31, I believe you said. Just like hundreds and hundreds, and navigating a complicated system for your boys who have these high complex needs, right? And coordinating all those specialties. Oh my goodness. It was,
yeah. And you were a very good listener last week, because I did say we went to Boston 31 times with Ben for eye surgeries. Good for you. Anyway, just 2 examples of the magnitude of the challenge. For at one period of time, Eric was in the hospital for 2 years. And that's without a discharge. That's continuous, day by day. He had 2 birthdays in there. He had 2 Christmas in there. Another situation, he was in one hospital and Ben was in another hospital. Both of them were in ICU, and this was over a couple of months. And we were working in both hospitals, trying to get them into the same hospital. And so we were advocating with Alberta Health Services up to senior administration in the hospitals, trying to say, help us, this can't be happening to families. So we did have not only dealing with the health issues and our kind of family dynamics and our jobs, we also had all kinds of experiences in advocacy initiatives that we had to endure and explore, navigate, that kind of thing. Anyway, so that is the kind of the context, the story. And where I wanted to take us tonight is, as these events were unfolding for me, I had a number of opportunities to, I think, have the privilege of reading or participating in person at a conference some thought leaders. For example, Louise Hay, Wayne Dyer is another, Robert Holden is another, and I loved what their message was. And a lot of it was connecting to the heart, and really talked about the difference between the head and the heart, and feelings and beliefs and thoughts. And all the time I was listening to them, I thought about my own story, and I was asking myself the question, why is this happening to us? Why us? What did we do wrong? The typical question, why are my boys suffering? Why are things going so wrong for us? And that was kind of the place, or the point, where I really started to think about my own belief system, and what I started to ask myself the question, what were my beliefs, and what were the things that drove me to make the decisions that I was making? And I found, as I explored that deeper and deeper, what I uncovered really surprised me. And for example, I thought about myself as a mother and what it meant to be a good mother. And what I found out when I really asked that question and I looked at it is, I believed that to be a good mother, I needed to know what to do, that it would be inherent, it would be natural, and I would know what to do, and then I would be a good mother. And when I had Marin in the hospital, and I recognized shortly after she was born, I didn't know what to do. And the nurse would come and take the baby to the nursery, and I thought I have to follow them. So I would, sneak along the wall so that nobody would see me. And I would peek in the window and try and watch them, what they were doing, so I could learn what to do. Because as soon as I knew what to do, then I knew I was going to be a good mother. And the same thing happened to me when I was a teacher. And the example that I share is that, to be a good teacher, I knew that I knew what to do. And I was teaching curriculum and I knew what to do, and I was a good teacher. And the day that I got a child into my classroom with really significant challenges, I panicked and I thought, I don't know what to do. And my very first thoughts were, I care for this little girl, and therefore somebody else that knows what to do, that's trained to teach her, is where she should be. She shouldn't be with me. She shouldn't be in my classroom. And so that really, yes.
Just to interject, just to make sure I'm understanding you, you're saying that you uncovered that you had the belief to be a good mother, you must know what to do. And then as that relates to your boys and their very, very complicated health histories and challenges that way, nobody knows how to navigate that. There's not a person in the world who would know how to navigate that kind of a system with all those variables. But then according to the standard, you got to know what to do. Then you're failing as a mom, is how you perceived it. Correct? I'm not saying you didn't at all, but that's how you perceived it. If you have to know and you don't know, because this is all new to you, and this is such a novel and complicated type of a situation to navigate, obviously that you don't know. Nobody does. Right?
Yeah. But when you hold a belief system like that, it drives you to be making decisions that maybe not always are the best decisions. So for example, and you gave the perfect example with my own situation, and now we have a complicated situation with our boys. And I, of course, didn't know what to do. So what I did is I went back to university. And I figured, if I can learn at university how I would teach a child with these complicated issues, and I would know what to do, then I'm going to know automatically as a mom what to do. So I'm going to be a good mom. So off I went to university, and my belief system at the time was, and my youngest now is totally blind. If I could find the right resource or the right strategy or the right program for educating blind students, they would acquire skills to a level that we wouldn't know they were blind, because they could just be out in society functioning away just like everybody else, and nobody would know they were blind. So unpack that in terms of a belief system. Was I accepting? No. Did I value him for who he was? And look, I didn't look at his strengths or even get to know who he was as an individual, because I was too busy trying to make him into something that I believed I needed to make him into. So it got me into trouble.
Yeah. And your expectation too, right? The expectation that, if you have that limitation, that you'd be able to go and move through the world without ever anybody noticing, which then means, why is that important? So that you don't have to ask for help, right? Isn't that kind of part of it? Like, knowing that you have something that you need help from other people, and just accept that. I don't think that's a bad thing, is it?
No, but I had to learn it though.
Yes, I understand. Yeah.
I had to think about that and learn it and do my own work about my belief systems and what did I believe, and the experience. When I charged right into the PhD program and right up to my dissertation, and I did my research, and I hadn't found the solution, and I was feeling anxious. And what I ended up doing was interviewing successful blind adults. And I thought, I'll talk to them about their school experiences, and I'll learn from them what school did right, so that they were such high functioning adults as blind adults.
Yeah.
And so I charged into that research and I spent time with them and I got to know them. And what I found was profound and life changing, because they didn't talk about the programs or the resources or the strategies that they learned. They talked about connectedness and relationships. And they talked about being influenced by significant adults in their life that believed in them, that saw them for who they were and accepted them and believed that they had a contribution to make, and instilled in them a strong sense of identity. So they showed up successful and confident and loving who they were in life. And as soon as I learned that, I turned around and looked at my own son and I went, oh my gosh, I wasn't even seeing him for who he was. And then I slowed down and I started to spend time with him, and I started to be curious about what's life like as a blind student. And I started to be really accepting of that. And all of a sudden, my whole life changed in my family, because I felt not disadvantaged or woe is me, why is this happening to us? I felt a real sense of privilege and honor, because I thought, I'm just really learning so much about the world and so much about differentness and so much about tolerance, that I just had so much gratitude for that.
Okay, so
really
gratitude
powerful.
of what you were learning because of the unique perspective you had because of the health challenges that your boys were experiencing. Correct?
Right. Yeah,
Awesome.
I felt
Yeah.
really privileged and special.
Right. You looked at this as this is an
Yeah.
opportunity to learn something that people normally never see, never understand. Right.
Right.
Yes. And was there any other, back to where you studied the successful blind adults folks, what did you find any other commonalities between them that encourage them, even though they had challenges with their vision? It didn't like impair their ability to have a full, meaningful, lovely life kind of a thing. So was there any other commonalities between them?
They had a high level of independence. They were really successful adults. I mean, one of my research participants had a PhD, founded the Hope Foundation at the U of A. She's a psychologist, and they have families. They were married. They traveled. They just did everything they wanted to do.
Right. There was no curtailment.
It was just different.
Yeah, it was a different experience, but nothing lesser than, or no activities really even curtailed because of challenges they might have with their vision. So cool.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, the first part of my book, I really talk about get to know yourself and do your work in terms of be curious. What are my belief systems, and are those beliefs limiting? Are they limiting for me? Are they limiting for my family? Are they limiting for my colleagues? Because I'm putting up artificial barriers that I don't see as barriers. They're attached to a belief system where I believe it's the right thing to do, and it might not be. So, I mean, I follow Mike Dooley, and he every day has a note from the universe, this great, wise universe. And one of the notes I got, I want to share with you.
Yeah, please. It's like a daily devotional type thing. Is that what it is, Dianne?
Yeah, it's a note from the universe. The presumption at all times and under all circumstances should always be that you are good enough, worthy enough, and lovable enough, and that you are exactly the right kind of person in the right place at the right time. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been instilled with such dreams in the first place.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's very
the universe.
Nice.
Cool,
nice. Hey, did I tell you about the new meditation I've tried with this Pananch Desai? Did I tell you this?
No.
Anyways, he has a meditation, and it's what I do in the morning now. And basically it's where you focus on your breathing, which of course many meditations do that. And of course it's through the nose, filling your diaphragm, so your stomach is going to distend as you breathe in. That's how it's supposed to work, right? That's the process. So nice, slow, quiet inhalation. But as you're having that inhalation, You remind yourself that this inhalation is a gift. This inhalation is a blessing. This inhalation is a miracle. Because, I mean, you think of it, you come out of your mother's womb and you start breathing, and you breathe every 4 seconds until you die. And so that comes to you. There's nothing, you don't have to earn it. It just comes to you every 4 seconds. You have this gift, you have this miracle that comes to you. And it also is an affirmation that you are enough. You're breathing in, you're enough. You've been enough in the past, you're enough today, you're going to be enough in the future, right? So I just love this concept of that. You treat your breath as a miracle.
That's
Woo,
right.
that's exciting.
That reminds me of a little meme I saw today, Snoopy and Peanuts, and they were talking. Yeah, and Peanuts says to Snoopy, "Oh, go ahead and do it because you only live once." And Snoopy looked at him and he said, "Oh, no," he said, "you only die once. You live every single day."
Nice.
That's pretty cute.
That's a good one. Nice.
Yeah. Anyway, so the my big first learning is know thyself. And I did a little writing for the audience tonight with my advice on know thyself, because the power of knowing yourself, the greatest limitations you will ever face will be those that you place on yourself. So know yourself. So my advice to you is start by spending time getting to know yourself. What are your beliefs? How do you define being good for the current role or roles that you fill? And is it possible that some of those beliefs may be limiting or preventing you or a colleague or a family member from becoming their best self? Every one of us has a story, and our stories reveal who we are and what we're about. Our stories are built from those experiences that show themselves to us to learn the lessons that we're meant to learn. So look at the things that showed for me so that I could learn what I needed to learn. These experiences influence us because every one of them creates an opportunity to look at why we do the things we do, why we react the way we react, and why we feel the way we feel. At the core of our story is our personal program built on the agreements we've made about how we should show up in the world. I agreed that to show up in the world, I needed to know what to do in order to be good at it.
Right.
And these agreements form our habits, and our habits create our belief system, and our belief system dictates how we see the world and how the world in turn sees us.
What you just shared with us, was that in the book, an excerpt from the book, or is that something you put together just for our viewers tonight?
Just for the viewers tonight, but it's sort of in the book too.
I understand. It's a synopsis way of looking at it. So the message that you're telling us, the first insight you had that was so valuable on this journey was about knowing yourself, and then coming to this realization of the expectation you had for when you were a good person, a good mother, mostly a good mother, I guess, but a good teacher as well. Good mother, good teacher. You had to know everything. Basically, that was sort of the expectation, kind of a thing, which was crazy, unrealistic. Nobody knows everything, do they?
That's what I learned.
So learning that, learning that, were you like the switch flicked and you were much more compassionate and self-caring, that you weren't, you didn't do, prior to that, did you beat yourself up because you didn't know everything? Was your self-talk bad?
I think the best way to describe it is I lived in my head. And I did not pay attention to my heart.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think the heart moves us to connection, moves us to relationship, moves us to the being piece.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, when in my work, one of the questions that has been really powerful for me that I've used is, what's the experience that a person or an individual is having in the presence of me?
What's the experience that person is having in the presence of you?
That's right. So I'm sitting here thinking, I wonder what Alan's experience is in the presence of me. I wonder what that's like for him, having this conversation with me.
Okay. So that's
and if
how
I
you,
reflect and I think about that, it puts me in a different frame of mind rather than only thinking about myself.
I understand. That is very generous, a very generous way that you're looking at the trans or the exchange and saying, how is this of value to the other, right? How is this other person benefiting from this exchange that we're having? That, am I correct? I'm following along? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's lovely. You know what? There was, every once in a while, this comes to me where I'm having a discussion, and this is a good example. This discussion we're having, you know, what I believe before we started it, and what I think we're going to end up with is that it's going to be a life affirming conversation in which both of us and our viewers leave with a little bit more hope, a little bit more love, a little bit more peace, a little bit more joy, a little bit more gratitude. Wouldn't that be sweet? Right? Yeah.
Yes.
So I think I think we've expressed it different ways, but we're on the same page, right? The experience that we're engaged in, the people that we are connecting to, we want that connection to be valuable for them. And sort of in being valuable for them, it's valuable for us, right? Because we enjoy that we're of value to others. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Yeah. And if I'm asking myself that question, what's your experience in the presence of me? That means that you're going to feel really seen.
Yes. Yes. Yes, exactly. Yes.
And validated, right?
Yes. And you're not going to be, you know, how sometimes you're in a conversation with somebody, and when you're responding to something they've said, they've like zoned out. They're just preparing the next response they're going to have. So but they're not really paying attention to what you're responding with, right? And that's very just like, okay, well, why are we having this conversation exactly, right? So yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you kind of gave a little bit of insight in terms of where we're going with this series.
Okay.
We're gonna find our way down the road there to hope carriers.
Hope carriers, exactly.
Yeah. But okay. Next week I'm going to talk about know the other.
Know the other. Excellent. So today it was know thyself. The big insight you had is that your expectation, your belief that you had to know everything was to be a good mother, to be a good teacher was not beneficial for one, and not allowing you had, that meant you had to fix. You had to fix Ben. You had to, right? There was, you were learning so you could change them, as opposed to it is what it is. They are what they are. I want to accept them as they are and make this a great experience for them with whatever limitations we have to work with.
Yeah. Yeah. Limiting belief.
That is a beautiful insight. What fortunate, what good fortune for your boys that you were their mother. What good fortune.
Well, they didn't think so at the beginning. I'll tell you a really quick story about Ben. He was pretty ice cold. He was not emotional. He didn't connect. And I decided I needed to put him on hug therapy. And I sat him down and I said, Ben, we're going to do hug therapy. That means every day I'm going to hug you several times so you get comfortable, so you get used to it. And he went, what? So we did. And I was giving him hug therapy. And about a week into it, he said, I figured it out. He said, I think you're doing this for you, not for me. So I don't think he was like totally enamored that I was his mother in the beginning.
In the beginning, but eventually I'm sure he appreciated your affection. Did he not?
I hope so.
I'm sure he did. I'm sure
I got pretty connected to him after a while.
Yes. Yes. Dianne, that is beautiful. I thank you for sharing again. I look forward to next week. I think that's an amazing insight that you know thyself. And I don't think you're the first person to state that, know thyself, are you?
I don't think so.
No, I believe what Socrates at the Temple of Delphi or whatever, the thing over top says, know thyself. Anyways, But is it a message we still have to hear? Yeah, because we kind of lose track, right? And we don't look at that. We don't examine ourselves. We don't examine like the kind of the interactions we have with other people and how we make them feel and how we even perceive them. That I think I told you last week about Shivani, this East Indian mystic woman. Anyway, so she keeps talking about, whatever happens, whatever comes to you, what you give back is love and blessings, love and blessings, love and blessings. And sometimes when it's somebody who annoys you, that's hard to do, but love and blessings, love and blessings.
I'm writing it down.
Yeah, exactly. Dianne, thank you so much. I will look forward to our chat next week, my friend.
Okay. Bye.
Thanks. Hey, let's get the PowerPoint stuff right. Send it to me in advance and we'll make sure it works next time.